Everyone talks about compound interest like it is some kind of financial miracle. People quote Einstein, call it the eighth wonder of the world, and every money expert brings it up almost immediately in any wealth-building video. Your parents probably even mentioned it when you opened your first savings account. But what nobody tells you is that compounding feels like a complete lie for the first several years. You invest consistently. You check your accounts. The growth is painfully small. You put in $500 a month, and your portfolio only gained about $80 last year from actual investment returns. That is less than 1 month of your own contributions. The numbers do not seem to match the hype. The magic feels more like a slow drip of disappointment. So you start wondering whether everyone has exaggerated the whole thing. Maybe compound interest only works for people who already started with $100,000. Maybe for normal people starting from zero, it is basically a cruel joke. It feels like you will be gone before the snowball ever really starts rolling. I felt exactly that way for years. Then I came across something called the 843 rule. It is a simple mathematical pattern that completely changed how I understood the timeline of wealth building. Once you see it, you will never look at your portfolio the same way again. Because here is the real truth: compounding is not slow, it is backloaded. The biggest gains are hidden in the later years, invisible from where you are standing right now. You are not doing anything wrong. You are just standing at the worst possible angle to see what is coming. Let me show you exactly what I mean. The 843 rule explains how long it takes to hit each major milestone when you invest consistently. The first big milestone takes about 8 years. Doubling that amount takes only 4 more years. Doubling it again takes just 3 more years. 8 years for the first chunk, 4 years for the second, and 3 years for the third. The timeline speeds up even though your contributions stay exactly the same. That happens because of compound growth, and it explains why so many people quit investing right before the real magic begins. Let me walk through the numbers so you can see it in real life. Imagine someone invests $10,000 a year, which is about $833 a month. They earn an average return of 12%, which is a little above the long-term historical market average, but still reasonable over a long time horizon. They begin with nothing. After 8 years of steady investing, they have put in $80,000 of their own money. Their portfolio has grown to about $123,000. That means compounding has added roughly $43,000. Not bad, but not exactly jaw-dropping. Their money has grown about 53% beyond their contributions over 8 years. Now look at the next stage. For more years later, at the 12-year mark, they have contributed $120,000 total. Their portfolio has grown to around $241,000. In just 4 years, the account almost doubled. Compounding has now generated $121,000 in gains, which is the first time the growth has exceeded their total contributions. That is the crossover moment, where your money starts working harder than you do. Then comes the part that looks almost absurd. 3 more years later, at year 15, they have contributed $150,000 total. Their portfolio has climbed to about $372,000. In those 3 years alone, the account added more value than it did during the entire first 8 years combined. 8 years to reach $123,000. $4 more years to reach $241,000. $3 more years to reach $372,000. The contributions stayed the same the whole time. The return percentage stayed the same the whole time. The only thing that changed was the size of the base that was compounding, and that changed everything. That is the 843 rule in motion. It is not some magic trick or hidden loophole. It is simply what compound growth looks like when you map it against real milestones. The second half of the journey produces dramatically more value per year than the first half. Most people never get to see this acceleration because they quit during the first 8 years. They look at their tiny gains, compare them to all the hype they have heard about compounding, and decide the math must be broken or only useful for rich people. They stop contributing. They raid their accounts. They never make it to the part of the curve where the real growth happens. Understanding the 843 rule gives you something incredibly useful: a timeline. It tells you when to expect the magic to begin. It turns compound interest from a vague promise into a concrete schedule you can plan around. Let me explain why this pattern exists mathematically, because understanding the mechanics helps you trust the process during the hard early years. Compound growth follows an exponential curve. Exponential curves have a strange feature that makes them mentally difficult. They start out almost flat, looking linear for a long time, and then suddenly bend upward with dramatic force. When you are standing in year 2 or 3 and looking ahead, the curve appears nearly flat. You cannot see the steep part because it is hidden beyond the horizon of your current perspective. Your brain guesses based on what it sees and assumes the growth will continue at this disappointing pace forever. But that guess is wrong. Exponential curves do not stay at the same speed. They accelerate. Here is the key idea. In the early years, your contributions do most of the work. If you are adding $10,000 a year and your portfolio is only worth $30,000, a strong 12% return still only adds $3,600. Your contribution is nearly 3 times bigger than your return. Growth feels slow because you are carrying most of the load. In the middle years, your contributions and returns start to balance out. Your portfolio might be $100,000 and generating $12,000 in returns while you contribute $10,000. Now the growth feels more noticeable because your money is starting to pull its own weight alongside your deposits. In the later years, returns completely take over. Your portfolio might be $300,000 and generating $36,000 in returns while you still contribute $10,000. Now your money is doing more than 3 times the work you are. The growth feels explosive because all those earlier sacrifices are finally paying off in a big way. That shift from contribution-driven growth to return-driven growth is exactly what the 8-4-3 rule captures. The first 8 years are slow and contribution-heavy. The next 4 years are transitional, with momentum building. The final 3 years are return-heavy, where the money starts working dramatically harder than you do. Knowing that changes how you interpret early results. When you look at your portfolio after 3 years and feel disappointed by how small the gains are, you can remind yourself that you are still in the contribution-heavy phase. That is normal. That is mathematically expected. The returns are not broken. They are simply being overshadowed by the size of your ongoing deposits relative to the small size of the account. When your annual returns start getting close to your annual contributions, you can tell you are entering the transition phase. The snowball is picking up speed. The compounding is finally starting to matter in a visible way. You are reaching the curve's turning point. And once your annual returns are larger than your annual contributions, you have crossed into return-dominated territory. At that point, you are playing an entirely different game. Your main job becomes simple. Do not mess it up. Do not pull money out. Do not panic sell. Do not interrupt the compounding engine right when it is finally running at full speed. Here is how sharply the timeline compresses as the portfolio gets bigger. At a 12% annual return, money doubles roughly every 6 years. But that simple doubling rule does not tell the whole story because it ignores your ongoing contributions. When you keep adding money regularly, the early doubling periods take longer than the textbook math suggests because your portfolio starts so small. Your first $50,000 takes years because most of that comes from your own deposits. Your second $50,000 takes less time because the returns are finally helping in a meaningful way. Your third $50,000 takes even less time because the returns are doing most of the heavy lifting. By the time your portfolio reaches $200,000, it is throwing off around $24,000 a year in returns at 12%. Adding the next $50,000 might take only about 2 years because the returns are now contributing twice as much as your deposits. By the time the portfolio reaches $500,000, it is generating around $60,000 or more annually in returns. Your $10,000 yearly contribution is becoming almost irrelevant to the growth rate. At that point, the portfolio is adding your entire annual contribution every 2 months through returns alone. That is why long-term investors often say the later years feel like cheating. The numbers grow so quickly that it almost feels like the spreadsheet must be wrong. But it is not wrong. That is just what the back end of an exponential curve looks like when you finally reach it. The tragedy is how many people quit right before they get there. Think about someone who invests faithfully from age 25 to 33, builds up around $100,000, and then stops contributing. Maybe they got discouraged. Maybe life got expensive. Maybe they told themselves they would catch up later. That $100,000 would still compound and might grow to around $310,000 by age 50 if left alone. But compare that to someone who kept contributing through the transition phase and into the return-dominated phase. That person might have $800,000 or more by the same age. The difference is not only the extra contributions. It is that the continuous investor captured the acceleration period, where every new dollar gets multiplied aggressively by the years that follow. The person who quit missed the leverage that makes the entire system powerful. Let me introduce you to two investors who started at the same time with the same contribution amount. Their stories show why the 8-4-3 rule matters so much. Rebecca started investing at 27. She contributed $800 every month without fail, through good markets and bad. After 8 years, at 35, her portfolio had grown to about $115,000. She felt underwhelmed. Her friends were buying houses and driving nicer cars while she was putting money into an account that did not look impressive. But she trusted compounding and kept going. By year 12, at 39, her portfolio had passed $235,000. Something had changed. Her annual returns were now bigger than her annual contributions. She could feel the momentum building. The account was starting to surprise her on the upside instead of disappointing her. By year 15, at 42, she had about $380,000. The last 3 years had added more value than the first 8 years combined. That was when she finally understood what everyone meant by compound interest. The magic was real. It just took 15 years to fully show up. Marcus started at the same age with the same monthly amount. He only lasted 5 years before he lost faith. His portfolio was around $55,000, and the growth felt painfully slow. He looked at the numbers and decided he would be old before it ever became meaningful, so he stopped contributing and shifted the money into lifestyle upgrades. His $55,000 stayed in the market and compounded on its own. By age 42, 15 years after he started, that money had grown to about $170,000 without any additional contributions. Not bad for money, he stopped feeding a decade earlier. But Rebecca had $380,000 at the same age. The gap was $210,000. Both started at the same time. Both contributed the same amount for the first 5 years. The only difference was that Rebecca pushed through the discouraging early phase while Marcus gave up on it. The 8-4-3 rule would have told Marcus exactly what to expect. It would have shown him that the first 8 years would feel slow, that years 9 through 12 would start to accelerate, and that years 13 through 15 would produce explosive growth. With that roadmap, he might have had the patience to continue. The 8-4-3 rule also explains why starting age matters so much, even if people usually explain it too vaguely. Traditional advice says start early because you get more time in the market. That is true, but it is not very precise. The 8-4-3 rule makes it concrete. Starting earlier means you reach the acceleration phase while you are still young enough to enjoy it. Someone who starts at 25 reaches the explosive growth stage around age 40 and gets decades to benefit from return-dominated compounding. Someone who starts at 40 reaches that same stage around 55, with much less runway to enjoy the acceleration. Both investors experience the same mathematical pattern. The difference is that the early starter gets to experience it when it can do the most good. That is not meant to discourage late starters. Even if you begin at 45, you will still hit the 8-4-3 acceleration. You will still reach the phase where returns dominate contributions. You just need to understand that the first 8 years will feel slow, and you must not lose faith during that stretch. There is also a psychological obstacle that knocks many investors off course in the early years. When your portfolio is still small, market volatility feels like it erases your progress. You contribute $10,000 over a year, then the market drops 8%, and it feels like most of your gains vanish. It seems like you are running on a treadmill that keeps sliding backward. That feeling is understandable, but it is misleading. During the contribution-heavy phase, market drops can actually help you. Lower prices mean your contributions buy more shares. Those extra shares then have decades to compound if you hold on to them. The people who built real wealth were often the ones who kept buying during 2008 and 2009 when prices were low. They were the ones who did not panic in 2020 when the market crashed and recovered quickly. They understood that volatility during the accumulation phase is a feature, not a flaw. During the return-dominated phase, volatility matters more because your base is much larger. A 10% drop on a $500,000 portfolio is $50,000, which might equal several years of contributions. That is when you want stability, diversification, and a calm mind. But early on, volatility can be your friend. It gives you buying opportunities. It lets you accumulate more shares at lower prices. Every share you buy during a downturn can compound for the rest of your investing life. Thinking about volatility this way makes it easier to survive the discouraging early years. When the market drops and your portfolio looks stagnant, remind yourself that you are buying future wealth at a discount. The 843 acceleration phase will magnify those discounted purchases later. Here is how to apply the rule to your own financial planning. First, estimate your timeline based on when you started investing seriously. If you are 3 years into consistent investing and feel discouraged, remember that you are not even halfway through the first phase. The slow period is not a sign that something is wrong. It is exactly what the math predicts. Second, figure out which phase you are in right now. Compare your annual returns to your annual contributions. If your contributions are bigger, you are in the early accumulation phase. If they are about equal, you are in the transition phase. If returns exceed contributions, you have entered the acceleration phase. Third, adjust your expectations based on your phase. In the early phase, focus on raising your contribution rate instead of obsessing over returns. Your behavior matters more than your returns when the base is small. In the transition phase, focus on consistency and avoiding withdrawals. You are getting close to the knee of the curve, and interruptions are becoming more expensive. In the acceleration phase, focus on staying out of the way. Let compounding do its job. Fourth, use the 843 rule to build milestone goals. If you are starting from zero today, an 8-year goal might be $150,000. A 12-year goal might be $300,000. A 15-year goal might be $450,000 or more. Those milestones give you concrete targets that match the natural shape of compound growth. Fifth, think forward instead of backward. The person standing at year 3 sees a portfolio that has only grown a little. The same person imagining year 15 sees a portfolio that has grown dramatically. Which perspective is more likely to keep motivation alive during the hard early years? Focus on where the curve is going, not where it is sitting right now. There is another side to the 843 rule that people rarely talk about. It applies beyond investments, including income. Career growth often follows a similar pattern. The first 8 years of a career are spent building skills, credibility, and network. Growth feels slow. Raises are small. Promotions take time. You watch more senior people earn multiples of your salary and wonder if you will ever catch up. The next 4 years often bring acceleration. Your skills start commanding better pay. Your network starts creating opportunities. Each raise builds on a higher base, so the growth rate starts to move faster. The following 3 years can bring explosive progress. Senior roles open up. Equity compensation appears. Consulting opportunities show up. Your earning power begins to rise sharply. Many people quit careers right before this acceleration phase, just like they abandon investment accounts. They get frustrated during the slow early years and jump to something new, resetting the clock and never reaching the curve's turning point. Understanding the 843 pattern in both investing and career growth helps you realize that early frustration is normal. It is built into the math of compounding systems. Surviving the early phase matters more than optimizing it. Let me end with a perspective shift that ties all of this together. Most people judge investment progress by looking backward. They look at how much they have gained and feel disappointed it is not more impressive. They compare their modest portfolio to the giant numbers they see in financial media and feel behind. The 8-4-3 rule suggests a different way. Judge your progress by looking forward. Ask where the curve is going, not where it currently sits. Estimate what your present portfolio and contribution rate will produce in 15 or 20 years if you leave it alone. That future projection almost always looks far better than the backward-looking version. Your current portfolio might seem small, but its future value, given enough time, can be extraordinary. The wealth is already there mathematically. You just have not reached the part of the timeline where it becomes visible yet. The investor who understands this acts differently from the investor who does not. They stay patient in the early years because they know what is coming. They contribute aggressively because they understand how much leverage those early dollars will receive. They remain calm through volatility because they know it is part of the accumulation phase. Most importantly, they do not quit. They do not raid their accounts. They do not convince themselves compounding only works for other people. They just keep showing up. They contribute consistently. They let the math do exactly what it promised to do. 8 years feels endless while you are living it. 4 years feels meaningful, but still manageable. 3 years goes by in a blink. And then you are standing on the other side looking at a portfolio that produces more in annual returns than you could possibly contribute, wondering why everyone else does not understand what you now understand. Compounding is not slow, it is backloaded. The magic is real, you just have to stay in the game long enough to see it.